Hi, Dan here. Hope you're doing well. I'm going to show you that amazing bass line played by David Hood of Muscle Shoals fame. And I'm just going to dive straight into it, show you exactly how the line goes, and then break it down and show you a few little tricks to then be able to make up bass lines in this style, to memorize it easier, to figure out things by ear, and a few other cool things as well. But let's just go straight into it. So C, 3rd fret, A string. So the real main notes of this are C, G, 3rd fret, E string, and open string A. So it's C, C, and then G, A, C, A, G. Very slowly. I'm not playing it properly. I would probably need to be in position because we're about to go to an F on the 1st fret of the E string. So anything that's on the 3rd fret of a bass guitar, you can use your little finger. Like you might be tempted to use your 3rd finger, which you can if you feel comfortable, but because the frets are quite far apart here, to lessen the stretch and to keep that wrist nice and straight, you can use your little finger. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm also sort of holding the strings to make sure that there's no extraneous noises or strings ringing. You've got to keep everything muted. So after that bit, we're going to F. F on the 1st fret, E string. And again, look how my hand is just positioned here. My little finger is just hovering over the 3rd fret of the D string, because that's the octave away from that F. That's the next bit. So slowly. And the last bit is G, A, C, G, A, C, A. And the bass line is just that throughout the whole song, apart from the intro and the little solo section. The beginning bit goes. This goes F to C, 3rd fret, D string, to 3rd fret, A string. And then it kicks into the bass line. We're at 100 beats per minute, so you can practice along to your metronome or download that backing track drum beat. I've got that for free. I'll put that on a link and you can just practice just getting into the groove with it. If you listen very closely to David Hood playing it in the original, it's really relaxed. It's kind of slightly behind the beat. So you've got to have your fingers all ready to go, no jumping around. I'm just using alternate plucking all the time here. Mostly anyway, it doesn't really matter. But that bit, going index, middle, index, it's quite fast. Really keeping everything muted. So that's that little section there, and you can practice that. Then I'll just quickly show you this little solo section. So this is really cool. It's just such a brilliant little bass solo bit. So we're going 9th fret of the G string. And there's a little slide here, or a little sort of hammer-on articulation. So 12th fret to 14th fret and back again. And there's a little, I mean, I'm going into microscopic detail here because I was listening to this last night. I hope I'm getting this right, but there was a little slide down. A really particular articulation that he's playing, but you know, if you don't catch that exactly, it doesn't matter. So we're going. What I'm doing there, I'm just sliding down, and we're just going very simple little pattern here. 10th fret of the G string, 10th fret of the D string, and 8th fret of the A string. It's just a really simple movement of chords going from the C to the F. The 1-4 chord progression. That's part of the little trick I'm going to teach you about breaking things down later, but After you get to there, you go 12th fret of the A and then the D strings. And you got exactly the same pattern as, but this time from the D, the A, and the E strings. So 10th fret of the D and the A, and 8th fret of the E string. Very slowly. And repeat. And then that time I think he stays on the C, and there's a little, which is a perfect moment. I don't know exactly what that fill is, but it's a perfect moment just to quickly talk about how breaking this down. In order to learn it a bit easier, this originally came from a question about someone who wanted to figure this out strictly by ear. They got the first note, but they got a bit lost after that. So this isn't really the lesson to talk about exactly breaking something down by ear, but I'm just going to show you a little few shortcuts and tricks that you might want to know. So we're in the key of C. Play along to the original, and the little trick here to find the key is just play a. It sounds happy, so I'm thinking major, not minor, and that's a major pentatonic. I'll show you that. So I'm going 5-2 on the G and the D strings, and then 5-3 on the A and the E strings. Notice how the notes that I just showed you, I'll show you one different way of playing that. 3rd fret of the A string is the C. Drop down to the 3rd fret of the E. This is what you need to know. That's the 5th. That's the 5th of the chord. It's just the 5th note of a scale. 2 frets higher is the 6th, the major 6th. That pattern there, it's used so much in this style of playing. And if you learn this sort of system of, you know, these are intervals, and you practice them and you condition your ear to hear these, when you hear a song you'll be able to play it easily, but you'll also fall back into patterns because this pattern is used so many times. Instead of playing the A open, I'm playing it on the 5th fret of the E string. Know how to harmonize a scale. In the key of C, the 1 chord, the 4 chord, and the 5 chord are all major. The 1 is exactly where we're playing it now, 3rd fret of the A string. The 4 chord F, let's move up to the 8th fret of the A string. You can play that exact same pattern, your root, your 5th, your major 6th, just as some practice. And then move up 2 frets, that's the G, that's the 5 chord. And that was just a major pentatonic scale of the key we're in, which is C. I've diverted a bit from the original bass line, but that's what I do in my lessons. I'm really keen that you should be able to play the bass line, yes, but also just get under the hood a little bit to work out some of the notes here, because you'll hear them, you'll start to hear them. Figuring out bass lines will become easier, making up bass lines will become easier. I do both those things in my day job as a bass player all the time. It's a really, really handy thing, so that you need to know this. You know how to play the bass lines now, but I just want to dig a little bit deeper. In the solo section, you really need to know where your notes are on the bass. So I know where C's are. There's one there, and there's one there, and I know it. I just learnt that, so I know it absolutely off by heart. This little section here, it's a 10th. A 10th is the 10th note in a scale. Or the 3rd up the octave. So if I know that my C is on the 8th fret, a 10th is always 1 fret higher and 3 strings that way. So when I'm doing this, it's a little unusual for a bass player to not play the root. You know, roots happen a lot. So a little shortcut to memorizing this, and if you're playing this on a gig and really nailing it, is there's my C, so I'm targeting that 10th or the 3rd up the octave. And it's just notes from the scale, so if you know your scales and you can relate them to bass lines, it's a really great connection to get. So we're just doing a C chord F chord. So again, I know my F is on the 8th fret of the A string. And the notes that are going on in this bass line are those notes from the chord. Very, very simple. Now that wasn't the fill he's doing, but we're in the key of C. So at the end of the solo, see how it fits. It's just handy to know this. I hope you got something from that. If you want any other bass lines taught, let me know. Put a comment below and I'll get back to them. Make sure you subscribe because I'm doing loads of lessons like this. I'm also going to do a lot more on how to figure out bass lines yourself. That was one of the original questions about this bass line, was that someone wanted to know how to play it because they couldn't figure it out. They wanted to know how to figure it out by ear. It's a bit tricky on YouTube because I can't unfortunately put the original on and just show you exactly how I would do it. But I just get a little short segment, quickly work out the key, and then you fall back into these shapes. There's so many bass lines use the same thing over and over and over again. And really, that is what my channel is all about, is to show you the fundamentals and the core principles. There aren't that many that you need to know, and then just the whole world of bass playing and music becomes a lot easier just by knowing this tiny small bit of information. Not tiny, I guess, but it's not as big as you think it is anyway. So I hope you got something from that. Please do subscribe and have a great day. See you next time.